Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. So, warm welcome to this seminar organized by the Citizens Forum. So, we are having this webinar today on Ram Mohan, and our speaker would be Dr. Krishna. So, may I kindly request Dr. CNN Raju to kindly introduce Dr. Krishna.
Yes, sir. It is, my dear friends, it is my privilege to introduce our good old friend, Dr. Udupi Krishna. He is well known among the Samajas in India, and he is truly, we call him an Acharya because for his dedication and to promote Brahma Sama, Brahma faith sincerely. Basically, he is a chartered engineer and arbitrator, having several degrees: BE, MS Engineering, PhD, LLB, ML, and he had presided several Brahmo conferences very actively. He will never miss any Brahmo events, and currently is the president of Gandhi Smarak Nidhi and also honorary secretary, general secretary, Sheshadapuram group of institutions, and also the president Karnataka Private Postgraduate College Association. And he comes, this is the more important, he comes from a well-known family of Gandhians and freedom fighters, and he has got a privilege of having serving now as a president of the Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi, Karnataka. And he had several positions earlier: member National Managing Committee, Indian Red Cross, New Delhi; member Central Committee, Tuberculosis Association of India, New Delhi; member National Council, the Institute of Engineers, Kolkata. It's a very prestigious organization. And chairman, Gandhi Peace Foundation, Bangalore also. And he is now the president of many international interfaith organizations like International Association for Religious Freedom, United Religion Initiative, Bangalore branch, Indian Foundation for Global Peace Education, Bangalore. And he had several awards: Fellowship of the World Academy of Productive Science 2014, the President Gold Medal for Outstanding Red Cross Humanitarian Work 2012 from the Honorable President of India. And recently he was given an award. It is a famous award by the Hampi University. It's called Nadoja Award, equivalent to an honorary degree of doctorate literature from Karnataka University, Hampi. And state award for his social service from Karnataka government, conferred on the occasion of the Rajyotsava 2004. And especially, he was very popular among the youth group. He did a lot of promotion of youngsters in several service activities as a youth leader. The State Youth Award was given in 1989 by the service by the government of Karnataka. And also he had a Kempegoda. You know, the Kempegoda was the founder of the the Bangalore city. Kempegoda Award for Education for the Bangalore by the Bangalore Mahapalika. It is my fortune. I am associated with him more than 30 years with many youth empowerment organizations. With this, I present my dynamic young leader, Nadoja, Dr. Udupi Krishna. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. So, we warmly welcome Dr. W.P. Krishna to deliver his lecture on Ram Mohan and secularism. Over to you, Dr. Krishna.
Thank you so much. Good evening, all of you. I am grateful to the Citizens Forum for having afforded me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts on Ram Mohan Roy and secularism. I am particularly thankful to our
voice could be.
Yeah, Dr. Krishna, you can go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Maybe a little bit louder if you can say, then it will be very nice.
Okay, okay. Sir. Thank you. Once again, good evening to all our dear friends. I'm particularly thankful and grateful to the Citizens Forum for having invited me to be a part of the 225th birth anniversary celebrations of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. I'm privileged to share some of my thoughts on Raja Ram Mohan Roy and secularism. I'm also thankful to our senior friends Shrisan and Raju for having introduced me to the audience.
Could it be a little louder?
No, the volume is given is full. The volume is full, in my system. Kindly check.
It is, we can audible. You can start. You can
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, Dr. Krishna, you are audible.
Fine,
You're
fine.
fine. Thank you.
Friends, whenever there is a decay of dharma, righteousness, and ascendance of adharma or licentiousness, sages, reformers appear on the scene. There is a famous quote from the Mahabharata, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati abhyuttanam adharmasya. So God's messengers appear. They come for dharma samsthapanarthaya, that is to establish dharma, to lead the people on the path of dharma, goodness, harmony, love. They help the society to recover the lost soul, to become sober and to come to the right path. This happened not once, not twice, but yuge yuge, that is again and again in all ages and in all countries. In fulfillment of this prophetic assurance, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born in the later part of the 18th century, about 225 years ago, on 22nd May 1772, when our country was in a dark period of degradation. The nation was groaning under the East India Company rule. Christian missionaries and the Muslim priests were actively converting people into their religions. The leaders of Hindu community became selfish and arrogant and cruel. Barbaric customs were practiced in society. Women and lower classes were the worst affected. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born earlier than all the other social reforms of that period. He was earlier to Karl Marx, the great exponent of communistic philosophy. He was earlier to Abraham Lincoln, who abolished slave trade. Prior to him, there were many great social reformers. They made attempts to reform the society in one aspect or other. But Ram Mohan was a composite personality who made attempts to reform the society in all aspects. He was a sage and a savant, a scholar and an evangelist, a reformer. Above all, he was a humanist. There is no aspect of society which he did not try to reform. His place in the history of the world as religious reformer, social reformer, scholar in many languages, lover of freedom, who worked for the uplift of women in social life, uplift of the downtrodden and backward classes, humanist, lover of democracy, man with synthetic outlook, who worked for the integration of all world religions, philosopher and a seer, is etched in golden letters. He was hailed as builder of modern India. Great men can be looked at from two angles. One from the side of human and second from the side of the divine. Looked at from the divine aspect, they are messengers of God. They bring glad tidings from heaven. They bring God's message. God is full of love, ever ready to help man on his path of goodness. They teach through their speeches, writings, and more through their lives. They demonstrate through their lives that the great truths and teachings are all possible and practicable to be lived in one's life. Looked at from the human side, they represent the highest level to which man could evolve with sincerity, piety, and effort. They represent to God man's aspirations, his troubles, his desires. This is the level to which we could rise by ourselves. They inform the divine. If help is given, we could go even higher towards thee, they tell him. So it is said, lives of great men all remind us that we can make our lives sublime. They are ordinary men like any of us, born on the same soil, breathed the same air, faced the same difficulties in life. But due to honesty, faith, sincerity, hard work, and love towards all, they rose to great heights and became ideals which we have to emulate and follow. God and God's relation to man and creation is only a concept of the human mind. So if we develop and help others to develop a proper concept of these, all the problems of the life will be solved quickly and automatically. Friends, brotherhood of man is not a fashionable slogan or euphemism or euphoric concept, but an essential condition for healthy living and happy existence and social prosperity. Ram Mohan felt that leaving all the variations and peculiarities in the concepts of religion and its practices, if we can bring together all the people on the one concept of one God and his worship, we will be able to bring about unity among the people. Different prayer halls for different sects and religions for worship is known all over the world. In those halls, God is worshipped only according to their method. Only that sect of people can enter those halls. But a common prayer hall for all sects and denominations of people where, irrespective of their personal religious beliefs, people of all religions can gather for prayer of the common God in a common method acceptable to all, is the idea of Ram Mohan's genius. Accordingly, he made the experiment. On 20th of August, 1828, he invited all his friends of various religious denominations and conducted a common prayer. It satisfied the sentiments of all the gathering. He conducted such experiments every week, and after 1.5 years of such weekly prayer meetings, he built a mandir for this purpose and wrote a trust deed, which was hailed as a unique document in the religious history of the world. He called this association Brotherhood of Believers or Fellowship of Faiths, and in later years it was called Brahmo Samaj. Later, after Ram Mohan, the movement spread due to the efforts of Maharishi Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen and others. A number of prayer halls were established all over India. Weekly prayers are conducted in these mandirs according to unsectarian method of worship of God, who is common to all, the creator and preserver of the universe. Friends, what was the secret of his life and what was his message? What was the light that guided and the strength that sustained him? People enjoy the sight of flowers and fruits on the top of the tree. Very few care to know the source of those fragrant flowers and delicious fruits. The secret of his life is the dictum that religion is mystical in roots and practical in fruits. He was a God-inspired soul. There were many God-inspired souls before and after him. His concept of God and godly life was distinct. To him, God is not only a remote, transcendental, extra-cosmic reality, but also immanent presence pervading in and through the whole frame and texture of life and the universe, seated in the inmost heart of every creature, guiding the destinies of individuals and nations. To him, the vast universe is a temple of God, the human soul a shrine, truth the imperishable gospel, love a perfect technique, conscience a divine oracle, duty a divine ordinance, life a progressive pilgrimage, humanity abounding grace. His was a vision that interpreted force as will, law as the method, and matter as localized potency of God. To him, to believe in the oneness of God is to regard man as one's soul's brother. To him, human relations were sweet and sacred. To believe in the unity of God and to hate man under some pretext or other was inconceivable to him. To restrict human brotherhood to a party, community, nationality, religion, class, or caste was hostile to the concept of oneness of God according to him. Human relationships, human relations, and social order should be based on and corrected, regulated, and sublimated by the concept of oneness of God. His God realization was not confined to inner experiences of the soul unconnected to life, relations, and activities. His purity of life was not limited to certain disciplines, but was expressed in social, national, and international activities. Loving God and doing things acceptable to God was his concept of worship. The true way of serving God is to do good to man, he said. Worship and work in the spirit of worship are two aspects of the same concept. Worship is a concentrated meditative form of life. Life is a varied expression of worship. Worship is for realizing God. Work is for revealing God. Worship is for evolving heaven within. Work is for establishing heaven without. Ram Mohan was astonished at the state of religions. Religion, intended to be a uniting force, became the very opposite of it. It is humiliating, a disgrace to humanity, and an insult to God that religion became a dividing force. Religion, intended to awaken the divinity in man and enable conquer the beast in him, roused and excited the beast in man, suppressing the divinity in him. Atrocities were committed in the name of God and religion. These were not committed by a few ignorant persons here and there. These were committed in all times with recitations from scriptures under the immediate presence of religious heads. Irreligion in the name of religion, godlessness in the name of God prevailed. Why? What are the causes for these tragedies? Is there no common point where all religions can meet? What is the aim of any religion? What are the essentials and non-essentials of religion? What are the means and what are the ends? Is not man essentially a spiritual entity? For years, Ram Mohan meditated on these questions and found a solution. God is the basis of all existence. all life, all activity. He is the converging center of all divergences. The aim of every religion is to enable man to realize his spiritual destiny by communion with God or ideal of spiritual perfection. So a common worship of common God with common spiritual aspiration for spiritual growth and spiritual values is possible and necessary. In a state of communion, man rises to a higher altitude of consciousness than normal and can see right values, right relations in a right perspective. He pointed out the necessity and the utility and demonstrated the possibility and the practicability of common worship of the one true God in spirit by persons belonging to different religions. This is his contribution to the unity of mankind, to the synthesis of faiths, to the harmony of cultures, and to the growth of the concept of secularism in India. It was clear to him that unity on the basis of the spiritual truth in man is enduring all differences. He emphasized on the truth of the fundamental unity of our relations, which is abiding. He used to say to friends, "Brother, ours is a universal religion." He foretold that after his death, various religions would claim him as belonging to their faiths, but declared that he did not belong to any particular sect. What he foresaw actually happened. He was believed to be a Vedantin of high order by Hindus, Zabardast Maulvi by Muslims, and a strict Unitarian by Christians. He clearly sowed the seeds of practical secularism and is hailed as secularism personified. For the unsectarian worship of an unsectarian God, he constructed a Brahmopasana Mandira and wrote a trust deed with terms and conditions, methods and aims of the worship that has to be offered there. This universal form of worship is the crowning gift of his life to mankind. The trust deed is as follows. 1. The trustees shall at all times permit the said building, land, tenements, hereditaments, and premises with their appurtenances to be used, occupied, enjoyed, applied, and appropriated as for a place of public meeting of all sorts and descriptions of people without distinction, as shall behave and conduct themselves in an orderly, sober, religious, and devout manner for the worship and adoration of the eternal, unsearchable, and immutable being who is the author and preserver of the universe, but not under or by any other name, designation, or title peculiarly used for and applied to any particular being or beings by any man or set of men whatsoever. The second most important covenant in the trust deed is, and that no graven image, statue, or sculpture, carving, painting, picture, portrait, or the likeness of anything shall be admitted within the messuage, building and land, tenements, hereditaments, and premises, and that no sacrifice, offering, or oblation of any kind or thing shall ever be permitted therein, and that no animal or living creature shall within or on the said messuage, building, land, tenements, hereditaments, and premises be deprived of life either for religious purposes or for food, and that no eating and drinking except as shall be necessary for any accident for the preservation of life, feasting or rioting be permitted therein or thereon. 3. And that in conducting the said worship or adoration, no object, animate or inanimate, that has been or is or shall hereafter become or be recognized as an object of worship by any man or set of men shall be reviled or slightingly or contemptuously spoken of or alluded to either in preaching, praying, or in the hymns or other mode of worship that may be delivered or used in the said message or building. 4. And that no sermon, preaching, discourse, prayer, or hymn be delivered, made, or used in such worship, but such as have a tendency to the promotion of the contemplation of the author and preserver of the universe, to the promotion of charity, morality, piety, benevolence, virtue, and the strengthening the bonds of union between men of all religious persuasions and creeds. 5. And also that a person of good repute and well known for his knowledge, piety, and morality be employed by the said trustees as a resident superintendent and for the purpose of superintending the worship, so to be performed as is herein before stated and expressed, and that such worship be performed daily or at least as often as once in 7 days. So these are the important covenants that form the part of the trustee that Ram Mohan gave at the time of dedicating this Brahmopasana Mandira to the general public. Mahadev Govind Ranade, commenting on the trust deed, said, the spirituality, the deep piety and universal toleration of this document represents an idea of beauty and perfection, which may yet take many centuries before its full significance is understood by our people. Right Honorable V.S. Srinivasa Shastri paid his tribute in these words. Ram Mohan Roy, in order to find a home where the common God of all could be worshipped, free of ritual and ceremony, and free from all particularities, founded the Brahma Samaj. The document by which he endowed this church and dedicated it to the public is very interesting and furnishes abundant proof of the breadth of view that he took and the anxiety he felt that this church should really be a place where God would be approached in the purest and the simplest manner. Friends, what is the shloka that contains the ideal and the technique of the Brahma Samaj? Suvishalamidam Vishwam Pavitram Brahma Mandiram Chetah Sunirmalam Tirtham Satyam Shastra Manashwaram Vishwaso Dharma Moolam Hi Priti Parama Sadhanam Swartha Nashastu Vairagyam Brahmairevam Prakirtyate. Meaning, this vast universe is the sacred temple of God. A pure mind is the place of pilgrimage. Truth is the imperishable gospel. Faith is the root of religion. Righteousness. Love is the perfect technique. Overcoming selfishness is renunciation. So proclaim Brahmos. What is the relation of Brahma Samaj to other religions? The ideas that Brahma Samaj proclaims are in tune with the spirit of fundamental teachings of all religions. It is the common ground of all religions and the essential ground of every religion. It is the least common multiple and the highest common factor of religions. It is not a new religion, but a new religious perspective necessary for unity and welfare of mankind. How does Brahma Samaj propose to unite people of all theistic religions? In a common worship, God is neither Hindu nor Christian nor a Muslim. So a non-sectarian worship of non-sectarian God has the power to unite all believers. Friends, let me now turn to speak to you all something about secularism and how Ram Mohan's work down the years has shaped up the concept of secularism during the pre-independent struggle and the post-independent India. Friends, we are all now in the 75 years of India's independence. India has been declared a secular state by our written constitution. Secularism emerged as a dominant principle during the freedom struggle, and this was possible because of the Renaissance movement initiated right from the days of Raja Ram Mohan Roy down to the days of Mahatma Gandhi. Secularism emerged as a dominant principle, as I told you. It became the mantra of the Indian nation. Today we are a secular nation state. Our object is to preserve religious and cultural pluralism. And how can we preserve this cultural and religious pluralism? That will be possible only by developing scientific temper, science, technology, and rationalism. And only these means that we can answer communal and divisive forces. There are two kinds of thinking that are there prevalent now in our society. What is Hindu is Indian. What is not Hindu is not Indian. This is a kind of a negative thinking that we all need to overcome. Only a secular democratic nation can stem the tide of communal fascism. Raja Ram Mohan Roy clearly gave us the concept of Sarva Dharma Samanvaya, that is the harmony of all religions. And Mahatma Gandhi spoke of Sarva Dharma Samabhava, that is equality of all religions. And it is on these two great concepts that we need to develop and build our secular credentials in order to build a strong nation. And the positive thinking that we need to have is Hinduism has a strong tradition of freedom of conscience and tolerance of religious diversity. The very fact that Raja Ram Mohan Roy was able to give us this religious perspective of Brahma Samaj speaks volume of the tradition of freedom of conscience that Hinduism had. Friends, secularism in the Indian context implies respect for pluralism. We must value democratic unity and not fascistic unity. Secularism begins at the heart of every individual. And as you all know, we have a shared history. We are basically a communitarian society. People of all religious persuasions and communities have been living in India for thousands of years harmoniously. The concept of secularism, as we now see, is no religion will be a state religion. State remains aloof from religion. All religions enjoy equal status, and right to freedom of religions is guaranteed under the Constitution. And there shall be no discrimination on the basis of religion. The most important thing that the Constitution gives us is that all the people of India have equal citizenship. We have right to equal opportunity. Special protection is accorded to women, children, and other weaker sections of the society. Equal political rights with single electorate, universal adult franchise is guaranteed under the Constitution. And the greatest blot or the evil of untouchability is eliminated with the advent of the Indian Constitution. So social justice stands accepted as a goal today. Even the Supreme Court has declared secularism as an essential part of the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. People have accepted the principle of university in diversity. In a multi-religious society like ours, secularism alone can do and be practiced as a way of life. And when we say way of life, Ram Mohan Roy has shown us the way. And if we only practice it in our thought, word, and deed, India will be united, it will be strong and prosperous always. Ours is a composite cultural model of unity, and we cannot afford to have a uniform culture model. And equal regard for all religions should become our policy. Finally, I would like to just say one thing before I conclude. It is a wonder that despite so many diversities and problems, India is continuing to cobble together as a nation. And today, I feel creation of public opinion is the only force at the disposal of democracy. And I think only through creating public opinion, we can build a strong and resurgent India. And I'm sure our culture can always afford us solutions. We always speak of Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, sarve janaah sukhino bhavantu. Let all live happily, let all be prosperous, and let us all live as brothers and sisters. Vasudhaiva kutumbakam. This should become our aim of life. That should become our way of life. So we must consider all the population of the world as one family. I think it is only with this kind of a mindset that we can nurture, help.
Dr. Gurudas, can you unmute yourself? There's been too much of noise, so I had to mute everybody. Can you please unmute yourself, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, I thank you all for having afforded me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts on these two vital topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna. So if people are not speaking, can they be on mute, please? Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Krishna. Thank you for this excellent speech. So it really gives us much food for thought. May I now request people who do have questions can unmute themselves and pose their questions to Dr. Krishna. So if you have any questions, kindly unmute yourself and speak. Yes, Mr. Tata.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna, for a very well-researched talk. And yes, at the theoretical level, Brahmanism is a very rational religion, a scientific religion. But then if you take the context of the modern world, there are some growing dangers of some aggressive evangelism. I speak as a person who has gone in the countryside. I've seen the evangelism that is coming up from all corners, not just one religion, and I think the basic psychological tactics used by evangelism is that they create an insecurity in the feeling of the neo converts. They try to create a sense of branding, and I think the government has to come down on these people, and I think there is enough food for thought. I won't provoke people, but the thing is that this branding and whipping up of insecurities by evangelists has to be curbed through an external intervention. I won't go into details. That requires a separate forum. Thank you.
I agree with you, Himakar Tataji. Considering the present situation, I think the only way is to create good public opinion, and we need to educate the masses, particularly our young people. This is most important. And I think for all these issues, social issues, I think education will be a good answer. I think with increase in education, because the most exploited lot is the uneducated, the poor, the downtrodden. And once, if they are given a good education, I think things will start changing for the better. I too agree with you that this evangelist upmanship is there, and then trying to convert people, do this, that, and all that. But that's a very big subject. That's not for us to deliberate in the scope of this lecture. But then what I feel is the best solution for all these things is to create good public opinion, educate our people, and increase education at all levels. That I think would be the long-term solution.
I will say education, but not intellectualized nitpicking. I think that's what happening. I'll just give you a couple of examples because I have worked in rural areas and I relocated myself, and then I come back to Vizag. So the new converts, they're given some feeling of insecurity, even eating prasad, Then they're giving feeling of insecurity about lighting of a lamp, which shocks me. And when my sister died, I called a pastor to my house to conduct a ceremony because the pastor was a good friend of ours. And one of my relatives lit a lamp. So immediately objected, no lighting of lamp. So anyway, I was the host. How can I be rough with him? So, but I just thought of myself, he's doing a prayer in my house. Some relative who was equally broad-minded, and to add to the function, put lit a lamp. Immediately, there was a feeling of insecurity. No, take away the lamp. So these are very small things. And this is how, religious differences get whipped up, whether it comes to clothes, whether it comes to lighting of a lamp, eating of prasad. And this lighting of lamp has been there for the last 50 years. 50 years back itself, people used to object to, inauguration ceremonies, starting with lighting of lamp. So I think, for me, the role model is Kemal Atatürk. Of course, Turkey is going back to the old ways thanks to Erdogan. Yeah, but I think somewhere we have to come down with a heavy hand. Otherwise, the whole spirit of Brahmaism will be lost. Thank you. I won't say further. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other question?
Mr. Das, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, it seems that we do not have any questions, but what Dr. Krishna had said, so he cited from the Brahmo tragedy, which really speaks about that we do not speak ill about any religion, and that we do not believe in any graven image or statue. So I believe that should be the model, right? So we all worship the one God, and I think other religions also do not dispute that there is one God. It's only the practices that creates all the mess. But anyway, let's not use this forum for these sort of discussions. If there's no other questions, may I ask Dr. Kesav Chand Challa to kindly propose the vote of thanks?
Thank you, Amar Das. Sorry, I'm not a doctor. I'm only Kesav Chand, that's all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. Wonderful evening. We got wonderful message. The Citizens Forum is organizing various lectures on the occasion of the 250th birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Today, the well-known and learned Brahmo, Dr. Uday Krishna from Bangalore, has delivered 5th lecture on Ram Mohan Rai and secularism. His lecture is simply wonderful, very educated. He has touched all the aspects of Raja Ram Mohan Rai and his behavior and his guidance. The preamble to the Constitution of India asserted India as a secular nation, as per the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution of India. However, the Supreme Court of India in 1994 established the fact that India was secular since the formation of the Republic. The judgment established that there is a separation of state and religion. It stated that in matters of state, religion has no place. And if the Constitution requires the state to be secular in thought and action, same requirement attaches to political parties as well. The Constitution does not recognize it and does not permit mixing of religion and state power. But unfortunately, against whatever is done is a complete against to this Constitution and the spirit of Constitution. The only solution, as Dr. Krishna has told, is to follow the Brahmoism, because Brahmoism is a universal religion. We embrace righteousness as the only way of life. We embrace truth, knowledge, reason, free will, and virtuous intuition as guides. We embrace secular principles, but oppose sectarianism and imposition of religious belief into governance, especially the propagation of religious belief by government. That is what is happening, in fact, today. As you know, we're all aware, Brahmos have only strong belief in the existence of an all-perfect God who is one and only one, the origin and the preserver. We treat all humankind as equal, as Brahmoism, Brahmo Samaj is a religious of brotherhood, a fellowship of faiths, and a world community of liberal and progressive religious thinkers. So Raja Rammohun Roy is the origin for all these things. Dr. Krishna has started by quoting the Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya. The first composite personality to make efforts to reforms in all sectors is Raja Rammohun Roy. Religious, social, so many aspects. Common God, he has advised us to pray common God in common worship, irrespective of the customs and practices. Any person can come to a place and pray God, the common God, without any shape or this thing, graven images and all those things. So that is the first secularism thought to Indians and to the world also, maybe. We don't know before the earlier history, we don't know. But in fact, as far as we know, Raja Rammohun Roy is the first person to introduce this secularism in the country. His solution was simple: to pray common God with common worship, without leaving the traditions, their traditions. Simple method. Thereby, the brotherhood of God, man can be evolved. He has touched also the Constitution. So society, universal religion, the trust, he has explained in detail about the trust deed of Brahma Samaj, which is the basis for us, the Brahmos. He is the first nation builder, spread into various fields of national life. Dr. Krishna has also explained about Subhisal Medam Vishnu Pavitram Brahmanandam, the religious connects. The fundamental teachings of all religions is one. Brahma Samaj, he has clearly explained that Brahma Samaj is not a new religion, it's only a religious perspective. There is no discrimination. Equal citizenship to all of us. In fact, that is a way of life. Brahmoism is a way of life. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the origin. If we follow these principles, if we become, automatically the secularism will be evolved in all of the people. That religious tolerism, secularism means religious tolerism. We may follow our religion, but we should not hate or oppose other religions. That is a simple principle of secularism. So this was elaborated by Dr. Krishna very much in detail. I thank Dr. Krishna for all the wonderful lecture he has delivered today on Rammohun Roy and secularism. Let us try to adopt these things and follow the Brahmoism in true spirit, so that we all can become good citizens and the future torchbearers of the society. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Kesav Challa Saab. Thank you for your summing up. So I think since we do not have any questions and we really had a very enriching session, so I will call this session to an end, and thank you so much for attending, and especially a big thank you for all the attendees who had made time for your evening to join here with us. Thank you, and we will keep you posted with the future programs as well. Thank you so much. And we end this program over here. Thank you. Namaskar.